Welcome on into the Fantasy Football Forge. Week 1 is here, baby. Let's go Fantasy Football. We're all excited about the potential for our team, so we want to get off to a good start. I'm going to show you some fades, some starts, and my rankings. And, of course, these could get updated through the week, so you can find a link in the description. You can go up onto the website, www.theffforge.com, where you can find them as they get updated throughout the week, or just show up live Sunday morning, Thursday evening, prior to kickoff. I'll be here answering any of your start-sit questions with my most current rankings up on the screen at that point in time. So I definitely invite you to come join there. That's always a fun, good time. I enjoy it. And without too much further ado, why don't we just get into this? I probably have some announcements. I guess I'll just backload those if I remember to at the end of this. Otherwise, the beginning of my quarterbacks tight ends video did go over a couple of things. But here we are with my wide receiver rankings for week 1 of the fantasy football season. It is Saturday, August 30th. Things can happen. If big things happen, if I end up shuffling these a lot prior to releasing them, maybe I'll probably re-record this video. Otherwise, down in the comments section, if there's anything major that I felt of note, I will put that down there in the comments as well about some specific players that maybe I move up or down significantly, or my just opinion has changed on different than what I said in this video. But here we go with the wide receiver rankings. At my first tier here, these are guys that I don't really see much of a reason why you would sit them. There's a chance you get Terry McLaurin later in your drafts, depending on when you drafted. For the most part, his stock never fell too far, but maybe you just have a really loaded wide receiver core somehow in a thinner league especially. So obviously, as it goes down, maybe there's a reason that you could have 3 of these guys that you're starting ahead of him. But for the most part, you're just starting these guys. Don't question it. Ja'Marr Chase up at number 1 here, going up against Cleveland. Malik Neighbors going up against Washington. Really good spread here. By the way, these are the DK spreads over here, and I have it highlighted based on the spread is basically game flow. Are we expecting a game that is going to cause this team to pass a lot more, in which case more opportunities could present themselves? Of course, the defense, literal defense that they're facing against, does have an impact on that as well, as do many factors. And then the implied point total, just kind of more of that touchdown upside opportunity for these guys. Is Vegas expecting them to be scoring points? And if so, how does that compare to the rest of the teams this week? So those are what those numbers are, but you know what? We're definitely not sitting Malik Neighbors, and I'm pretty optimistic about what he could do against Washington this week. Nico Collins, same thing against the Los Angeles Rams. I'm a little bit nervous about that offensive line, how it'll hold up against the Rams. Nonetheless, that ball is going to get out often enough to Nico Collins, and these Rams cornerbacks aren't exactly the best, kind of middling types of cornerbacks. So nobody that can really handle Nico Collins for an entire game. You feel safe about him. Justin Jefferson going up against Chicago. I think Minnesota might be running a little bit more, so I just pushed him down the rankings a little bit. The game flow also maybe not best in his favor, nor is the implied point total. A.J. Brown, game flow not in favor. Probably going to end up running a lot, but we anticipate there's a decent chance for 100 yards and a touchdown from A.J. Brown against Dallas. Not exactly the most threatening of pass defenses out there in the league. Not that they're bad, just not the most threatening. So, always optimistic about him. I am a little bit nervous about the other side of the ball, despite the fact that Dallas is definitely going to be passing a lot, and I'm sure CeeDee Lamb will find some open room, but safeties, linebackers, cornerbacks, I mean, they got it all in that Philly defense. It's a really, really good Philly defense, and you got to wonder too, is that Dallas locker room going to be a little bit sluggish, slow coming into the season with the recent Micah Parsons stuff? Who knows? Implied point total not the highest here for, I think, a good reason. So I'm just a little bit nervous about CeeDee Lamb and at least the ceiling this week. The floor, he should get enough targets to give you a floor. Brian Thomas Jr. going up against Carolina. Jacksonville going to be passing a lot. Is this right? -3. Jacksonville's not favored to win against Carolina, are they? I think they are. They are favored to win. So, they might be able to run the ball out towards the end of the game. Good implied point total here, though. We're not too afraid of it. Monroe St. Brown going up against Green Bay. I've expressed in the quarterbacks, tight ends video a little bit of nervousness about this Detroit offensive line, new offensive coordinator, everything going into it. But I'll tell you, the person that I'm the least nervous about out of all of it is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we're still happy about it, but I do believe I have him a little bit lower than the current rankings at this point in time, which will change. People just have, I'm pretty sure a lot of people just have their preseason rankings right now in as their week 1 rankings up on like Fantasy Pros. When you look at that, the ECR there, or expert consensus, is it still ECR during the regular season? Whatever, the rankings. Drake London, the expert rankings. Going up against Tampa Bay, pretty optimistic about this. I want to put him up ahead of Detroit, but if there's one game I think is going to be higher scoring, I don't know. What do you guys think? This is a good wide receiver battle. Is anybody ever going to have to make this decision though between Amon or Drake London? I don't think so. You're starting them both. Puka Nacua, you're starting these guys, right? Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey is in a bust type of situation. I'm still playing him. I drafted him to play him. I'm not sitting him. We can't get too cute with things. So we're still starting him. But I will say, not going to be too shocked if Ladd McConkey struggles against Kansas City's defense. T. Higgins, we're starting him. Jackson Smith-Njigba, no reason not to start him. San Francisco doesn't have the best secondary. In fact, they can be had, which is why I'm going to be optimistic about Ace. I have a few cool surprise. I think there could be some rookies that weren't taken in the first round this week. I could have good fantasy weeks, guys who, if I'm playing some DFS battles, I'm going to go out and take them on the cheap. So look forward to those. Mike Evans here against Atlanta. Why would we sit Mike Evans against Atlanta? He could go higher than this for sure. He's a real good safe bet. Tyreek Hill against Indianapolis, not a real good safe bet, but it's against Indianapolis. I'm going to take the shot if he's healthy enough coming in. There is that little bit of concern. And then at this point, and then Terry McLaurin going up against the New York Giants, he's the guy here. He's the guy who's going to get you don't sit Terry McLaurin for the most part. You just kind of got to play him. And the implied point total, Washington's expected to do well this week. Marvin Harrison Jr. right behind that in this next tier, guys who I'm pretty darn optimistic about. I'm happy to start them if I'm not super loaded. So Marvin Harrison Jr. going up against New Orleans. They're probably going to run a lot. That's why I'm a little bit down on him. Courtland Sutton, it's the same story against Tennessee. But for Courtland Sutton, I almost actually feel a little bit safer on Courtland Sutton than Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. just maybe a little bit more upside yet. I don't know. Via the game flow suggests there's a chance that this game's a little bit closer. I don't know. I is this okay? Is this crazy to do, guys? I don't know. Let me know. That's another one I'd be interested to know. What do you think? Courtland Sutton or Marvin Harrison Jr., who should be ranked higher? But yeah, optimistic. He's the guy. He's the guy who gets the targets. It's kind of like Terry McLaurin's story. Devontae Adams, I just have him a little bit lower down. I think he's a little bit more boom or bust, but there's really nothing too much to be afraid of this week, so he's a good play. Jameson Williams, like I said, generally speaking, I'm going to be optimistic about the Detroit-Green Bay game and these ancillary players. I think I said that in the quarterbacks tight ends video, but I am, and so I'm happy to play Jameson Williams this week. Same with Tyrone McMillan going up against Jacksonville. I'm just not as confident about the quarterback, about the offense, even compared to Detroit, who I lack some confidence in this year, at least in the early portion. The scoring upside just a little bit lower. Tyrone McMillan, a rookie here in week 1. I would prefer to see it, but when you're playing up against Jacksonville, I'm definitely willing to take a shot on playing him. Zay Flowers, Baltimore, Buffalo, another one of those games. I'm targeting these players. I have them higher in my rankings than maybe they will be in other weeks just because of this implied point total, generally speaking. That's going to be a back-and-forth affair, almost certainly, right? Xavier Worthy, the number 1 receiver right now in Kansas City. I had him a little bit lower. I raised him. He's going to get the targets. You feel pretty darn comfortable about it. And this is a matchup that I do think has the chance to be above average in scoring, 28 to 31 type of game, I think is very possible. George Pickens, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Matthew Golden, Jerry Jeudy, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore in this next tier. These are guys where I was optimistic about these guys. I'm maybe generally more pessimistic outside of a couple of the names here that are just guys who week in and week out, or rookies, and I might not be this high on, but because of the matchup, I do like him. So a little bit of mix of those, but George Pickens going up against Philadelphia, obviously it only takes one play, but we know this Philadelphia defense really good, but they're going to be passing a lot. So I would like to sit George Pickens if I can. Jalen Waddle, I'd probably kind of like to start him if I can. Going up against Indianapolis, implied point total's better here. This is just a ceiling play. If I'm trying to go for the safer play here in week 1 between these two, I would take Jalen Waddle. Chris Olave also safe play. The question about him all season long is going to be that touchdown upside. And against Arizona, it's a middling defense, so definitely could happen this week. DK Metcalf, unfortunately, until we see it, I'm going to be a little bit nervous about it. I'm pretty high in my rankings. I want to put them higher. Jets defense, they got some good, cornerbacks and stuff there. So a little bit nervous about that week 1. Calvin Ridley, definitely nervous about it going up against Denver week 1. Rookie quarterback week 1. So if I can sit Calvin Ridley, I'm going to look at an implied point total almost at the bottom of the league here for Tennessee. Matthew Golden, I got right behind that. So Calvin Ridley's still going to get the targets and everything. So there is some upside potential there. The other thing here for Calvin Ridley, something that we got to remember when we're talking about players going up against this Denver defense, is that they generally have PS2, Patrick Surtain, just shut down one side of the field. He doesn't really shadow too often the best player on the opposite team, is how they've generally done things. So because of that, teams can just put their star player on the other side of the field, so I would expect that's something that they could do with Calvin Ridley, and that's where I'm optimistic about him enough that I have him ahead of somebody who I'm really optimistic about here in Matthew Golden going up against Detroit. Like I said, I like that matchup, and Green Bay, the implied point total is good here. I think Matthew Golden's the most targeted receiver on this team, even in week 1. He's one of the rookies who I'm the most confident about coming out this week, in part because of the matchup being higher scoring. Jerry Jeudy going up against Cincinnati, optimistic about the Cleveland passing attack this week. Garrett Wilson, this is why he was falling in my rankings leading up into your drafts. Just so nervous about him, and then you're going to put him up against Pittsburgh this week, a really good defense. If he does really well this week, you could start to get a little bit excited, and especially if you draft him in like the 3rd round and you're a big-time believer. But I'm sorry, guys. He's a bust for me. DJ Moore going up against Minnesota. He's another guy who, tumbling in the rankings later on in the season. Decent enough matchup, not a great, game flow. Expecting Chicago to have to pass throughout the entirety of the game. Probably going to lose this game. And then the implied point total, a little bit below average. So DJ Moore, fine play, but if I can start somebody over him, I would like to. Devonta Smith going to be my next bust target here once again. Expecting Philly to be able to run the ball a lot and turn to the run late game. I don't know how much passing there will be in this matchup, and whether there's not a whole lot of passing, Devonta Smith's living on 5 targets, and look, he can do it with 1 target, right? He is very, very good, but Dallas Goedert still healthy at this point in the season as well, so it's A.J. Brown, it's Dallas Goedert, it's Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert moving the chains, A.J. Brown making the big moves. And then there will be a few shots to Devonta Smith. So, big play, just big boom, big bust. I'm betting on the bust this week because this is one of the weaker run defenses to go up against. Rome Odunze, right behind that, Keon Coleman. I'm going to take a chance on these guys, okay? Let's go. I love this Buffalo-Baltimore matchup this week for these receivers, especially on both teams. Travis Hunter going up against Carolina. All right, let's give it a spin. Let's see how it goes. Ricky Pearsall going up against Seattle actually could be a pretty good defense this year, but if they're not going to have Juwan Jennings, which is how I am ranking this right now, no Juwan Jennings. If Juwan Jennings is playing, I'll pull back a little bit off of this take. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy to play Ricky Pearsall. Second year is why I have him with the nod over Emeka Egbuka. But Emeka Egbuka going against Atlanta, I got no problem if you want to flip these two. Absolutely not. It's just how I ended up splitting them apart. But, obviously Emeka Egbuka also a good opportunity this week going up against Atlanta. Higher scoring opportunity in this game. Tampa Bay might be able to turn to the run late, but by that point, hopefully Emeka's done what he's done. It's just that he's a rookie. You haven't seen it before. It's a good matchup. It's a good matchup. He could go off this week. Jacoby Myers hadn't. I don't know what's going on with that situation. I'm just pretending like he's for sure playing and everything, and then it's against New England. Maybe he sees a lot of Christian Gonzalez. I don't know. I could get lower on Jacoby Myers. Stephon Diggs, I like it. They should be able to run the ball pretty well against Las Vegas, but nonetheless, he's fine. Khalil Shakir, he's fine. I like this matchup if he's healthy and playing. We don't know that he's going to be healthy for week 1. Deebo Samuel against the New York Giants. Obviously not too afraid of that. They will probably run, be able to run the ball out as the game goes along. So that's my little bit of a concern for this Washington attack at the end of the day. Josh Downs going up against Miami. I like that. If he's healthy and playing, great. I wouldn't feel too uncomfortable playing him, Cooper Kupp, early in the season when he's his most healthy. This is probably when we'll get some of the best stuff from him, so I don't mind him against the San Francisco defense. Jaden Reed, don't know if he's going to be healthy or how healthy he's going to be. Looks like he is going to be out there week 1, so I'm cautiously optimistic about it. Michael Pittman, I am actually quite optimistic about this as long as he's healthy, ready to go. I don't quite remember the injury that he's dealing with that I would have given him that little asterisk there, but going up against this Miami defense, one of the top 3 defenses I want to target, so Michael Pittman, I actually like quite a bit this week. If I had more must-start kind of options or green little highlights to give around, he was higher up on that list, but let's get a name for those cokeheads out there. Keenan Allen against Kansas City. I just think the floor might be fine for Keenan Allen in a game, once again, where I think it might be a little bit higher scoring than Vegas thinks, although I understand why Vegas has it that way. Demario Douglas, Christian Kirk, just a little less optimistic, whereas we were kind of optimistic here, especially as we went down there. I shouldn't say less optimistic, less confident in some of these players, but optimistic. So Demario Douglas, it's fine. I like him. Christian Kirk, same thing. Fine. I like him. I don't know that they have the most upside in the world. Rashad Bateman, same story. If there's a week, if you drafted Rashad Bateman and there were ever a week that you're going to play him because of, I don't know, you're probably not playing him, right? But I do think that there's a decent opportunity for Rashad Bateman to get a touchdown this week, right? On top of 56 yards and 4 catches or something. Isaac Tesla is one of my must starts, whatever, my boom plays this week, going up against Green Bay. Expressed some interest in that whole situation. It could be a higher scoring game, so there's a chance Isaac Tesla gets in the end zone against Green Bay. It wouldn't shock me. Torrey Horton going up against San Francisco. If there is a weakness for San Francisco, they do have some safeties who might get burned sometimes. I kind of think maybe I want to put Horton actually up ahead of Tesla. I'm going to do that right now. I'm pretty confident in the big play might come together here for Torrey Horton this week. So DFS play. Romeo Doubs against Detroit. I like that game, that matchup. Same here for Cedric Tillman. I like that matchup. Marquise Brown. I generally don't mind that matchup. And second best wide receiver on the team coming in this week. And then Dyami Brown, somebody who we really never talk about, but going up against Carolina, I think he's somebody who could end up having a surprisingly good week, and people might be wondering if we got to go get him off of the waiver wires going into next week. And then we just get into guys who, I'm hoping we're not having to play these for me personally. Ray McLeod, maybe you think differently about Rashid Shaheed. Dante Thornton, we'll see. Xavier Legette, I do like this. Just we haven't heard much of it off season, so I want to wait and see on that. I want to wait and see on Pat Bryant. Wan'Dale Robinson, floor play, fine. Quentin Johnston has a chance to have a good week, as he will have every week. Just how many weeks will that actually be? Adam Thielen, floor, probably okay here against Chicago this week. And then we get into guys who I'm just I don't even have any more tier break here. I hopefully we're not starting any of these guys: Amari Cooper, Darius Slayton, Trey Tucker, Troy Franklin, Malik Washington, DeAndre Hopkins, Alec Pierce, Brandon Cooks, Josh Palmer, Michael Wilson, Jaden Higgins, Roman Wilson. Not the week for him. Tyler Lockett, Alec Iomanner, Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Jack Besh, Calvin Austin III, Andre Yoshivas, Parker Washington, Luther Burden, somebody will probably go higher in the rankings second half of the season. Devon Vele, let's see how that works out, right? And then Darnell Mooney, currently not ranking him, so if he comes back, that will be something where then Ray McLeod's ranking will go lower. Not that you were planning on playing him. Marvin Mims Jr. currently, I think, is a groin injury for him, so that definitely doesn't hurt. If you wanted to take a shot on Troy Franklin, I suppose, but not expecting them to have to pass as much this week against Tennessee. And then Juwan Jennings currently not ranking him, which obviously helped Ricky Pearsall's ranking. So that is it for the wide receiver rankings for week 1 of the season. My fades: Calvin Ridley, Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith. My starts are my boom plays, Matthew Golden, and then we got more DFS type options here, I think, in Jalen Coker, Isaac Tisla, Torrey Horton, Diami Brown. We can readjust this, and now Torrey Horton up ahead of Tisla after looking at that again. Other than that, guys, if you have been with the channel this year, I'm probably not going to be doing projections, or if I am, it'll be like only the quarterbacks or something like that. Going to have to spend my time doing other things as well, but rankings will still be here live every week before the games, generally every week. So looking forward to another successful season. Let's go, baby. Bye-bye.